Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Okay, we're going to move on to approval of the agenda and minutes for our agenda for our regular meeting, May 8th, 2019. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve with one amendment. Move consent agenda item number 5.1 to city business 8.2.
And also,
Is that right?
we got a presentation for the deputy mayor, and I'd rather her be here when we do that, so I'd like to remove that item as well, which is item number 2 under awards and presentation.
Okay,
So
so
can I
I
get a-
amend my motion to include that change as well.
Yes, ma'am. Can you repeat that once again, so we're...
Okay, so motion to approve the agenda, moving consent agenda item 5.1 to city business 8.2, and we would postponing,
Yes.
what item number is it?
Item number 2 on awards and presentation.
Okay, postpone number 2 under awards and presentations until the next meeting.
Okay, we got a motion from Councilwoman Cost.
Second.
Second from Councilman Goen. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, our minutes from fiscal year 2019 financial updates and 2020 budget priority workshop held on March 14th, 2019. And also utilities workshop held on April the 2nd, 2019.
Okay, motion to approve of the first item, 2.2, with one amendment, a correction actually, on page 5, paragraph 5, where it reads, other items that were discussed were a presentation by Catherine Alexander regarding the power of public art will be done in April, comma, annexation of Carlton Terrace into the city, comma. That should be annexation of neighborhoods north of Carlton Terrace in the city, since Carlton Terrace, of course, is within the city limits.
Right.
Ask for a second
We got a,
to approve with that amendment the minutes that are 2.2.
we got a motion from Councilwoman Cost with
Second.
some
2.2.
changes, and a second from Councilman Goen. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Are you still with us, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're going to move on to awards and presentation. First item up is a presentation by Catherine Alexander. Councilwoman Koss.
Oh, yeah. So Catherine and I have been talking for a couple months, I guess. Catherine is formerly with the Brevard Cultural Alliance on their board, and she has some ideas for public art. And so I've asked her here to give a presentation as we consider our budget for next year.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mayor and council members and city officials and staff for the time today.
Put the mic down so we can hear you. So they can
That
hear
is-
you.
that
All
might
the-
be
all the-
better.
All the many people listening at home, all 5 of them can hear you.
Okay, I'm trying to bring this PowerPoint up, and let's see, your computer's probably a lot faster than mine at home, so. I'm going to ask you tonight to dream with me a little bit. Well, it's not coming up, it's taking its time. Hold on. Okay, I need technical support. Do we need to reload it? Just taking a while. Microsoft Office, don't you love it? There you go. Very good, thank you so much.
All right.
So, dream with me. Think of your favorite city. Maybe someplace that you visited recently, or someplace you'd like to visit. Charleston, Savannah, maybe even Washington, D.C. And I would ask you, what do these cities have in common? They celebrate their culture, and they have a multitude of art, of public art available. Again, I thank you for taking the time tonight to hear about public art and the power of public art and what I think it can mean for the city of Cocoa. Cocoa is growing, and how we grow is within our control. If we plan well and we use the lessons and best practices that have been proven to work in other communities. I have allowed a little bit of time at the end for questions. I know I am limited to 10 minutes, so I'm going to jump right in here. These are some excellent examples of art around the state of Florida, Jacksonville, Lakeland, the Jacksonville International Airport, the Tampa, which I think had a fabulous idea with this lighting of the bridges, the LED lighting. These are some photographic works I think are so representative of the state of Florida. We have tremendous natural beauty here in the state, and public art should and does reflect that. There are more than 60 public art programs within the state of Florida and over 4,000 works of art. And again, I'll just try to go quickly because I know our time is limited. This one I found really stunning. It's actually an LED sculpture that's on like a fishing net kind of thing, and it moves in the wind. And if you have time to look up Eckelman as an artist, these are stunning works of art. That happens to be in Phoenix, a little bit bigger city than Cocoa. But Cocoa has some beautiful artwork as well. We already have the Emory L. Bennett statue in the Cocoa Riverfront Park and the Melvin Morris statue, honoring our Congressional Medal of Honor recipients and a Vietnam Veteran Medal of Honor recipient. There's been a great deal of research about art and public places, and art works. The National Assembly of State Arts in particular did a very in-depth study across the nation. They've shown that art improves the impact of other public policies. It can be a dynamic contributor to the small business sector. It attracts investment and recirculates income within the community and creates a competitive advantage for a city. The National Governors Association undertook a study in 2012 at the depths of the recession, and they found that art and design are critical ingredients for innovative place and can catalyze community redevelopment and revitalization. And of course, Americans for the Arts, longstanding advocates for the arts, and they have demonstrated that the arts can be economic drivers, educational assets. They support health and wellness, they serve as civic catalysts, and they preserve cultural legacies. Why am I interested in this topic? Well, as a 40-year resident of Brevard County, I care deeply about the residents of our county and of the city of Cocoa. I had a 33-year career with NASA as a budget and project manager and strategic planner, and I was NASA's representative on the Brevard Cultural Alliance, and that's where I first really began to understand how art could impact a public place. The key element I feel that we are missing in our community is mass transit, and utilizing art within mass transit and bus shelters in particular to brand our communities so that when people come here and visit, they go home with a understanding of what Cocoa is. Just like if you visit a city like Charleston, you have memories of that city and you remember that beautiful fountain and that afternoon where we took a walk down on the riverfront and so on. I think you have a beautiful city logo currently that could actually go on the back of any of these bus shelters, relatively inexpensively, under $1,000 for a permanent installation. Also, I don't need to tell you how congested our roads are. Every bus takes 30 cars off the streets. Our elderly are over 35% of our population, possibly more here in the city. That's a county-wide statement. We have a large number of disabled and veterans, and millennials they don't even want a driver's license, right? One teenage driver can increase your car insurance by $3,000 to $4,000. So the longer you can keep them on public transit and off of your car insurance, the better. But what really broke my heart was seeing people standing at these bus poles that are out in the fields of weeds, mothers with toddlers or even a stroller. And they're standing in a field. They don't even have a bench in many cases to sit at. This does not speak well for our county or our city. I know we can do better, and I know you have done better. I know there's a lot of benches I've seen that have gone in, and in fact, I know you really did a lot already with art with the benches, so you've already got a head start on this topic. So the custom bus shelter graphic that I mentioned, this is something that you very easily on the back panel, you could put for between $800 and $1,000 as a permanent City of Cocoa logo. In addition, you could make it more of a branding activity. What would you like to see on the back panel? Maybe the historic Cocoa Village or Riverfront Park. Maybe some of the historic buildings, orange groves, oak trees. I would ask the council to look ahead, work with SCAT. I've met with them. I've met with all of our previous county commissioners. I have not yet met with the newer regime that's in, but they're on my list. But I am a huge supporter of SCAT. They do a tremendous job with a very limited amount of money. But at one squeaky wheel like me, will not get it done. So I'm really looking for support from the community to increase bus service across the entire city of Cocoa, and especially in the underserved areas, and marry that with attractive bus shelters that will brand this city as something everyone can be proud of. So some of the next steps, as I said, developing a strategic plan for your city that includes public art as it relates to bus route expansion and bus shelters. There was a 50-50 program in the city of Cape Canaveral, which was very successful. If you've been over there, they have these really high visibility bus shelters. They're bright orange and red, and they're just beautiful and stunning. And you see them and you're like, wow, that's really neat. So it's not that the 50-50 sharing, SCAT will provide those bus shelters in return for the city doing the engineering, easement work, and public works aspect. And the investment, I do have a handout, and I only brought 3 copies, but this is very, very interesting. It was to me, at least. They did an ADA study of all the bus shelters in the county, and I pulled just the ones the city of Cocoa. There were over 50. When I got to 50, I quit counting. But out of those 50, only 1 had a shelter. So of all the bus stops in the city. But what they did here is a very complete study, and they estimated the cost to put in a shelter at each. So the groundwork has already really been done, and I think that the city could look at this and possibly pick out, working with SCAT, where do we need the shelters? Where is the traffic? Where is the most need? And based on the cost estimates that were done, and if you haven't had a chance to see this study, or perhaps you've seen it, but just to refresh your memory, if I may, I'd like to pass these along. And that's just three examples. But I think the city has that opportunity now to decide how to move forward, put a little bit more money perhaps in the budget for public art as it relates to these bus shelters, and work with SCAT. I know they're anxious to work with the city to get more shelters out there where they're needed. Is there any other comments, discussions, questions? I do have my business card. I'd be happy to leave that with anyone that would like to get back in touch with me.
Yeah, this was a discussion that we had at the actually at the TPO, and I've had some discussion with Rocky Randall, because he's the go-between the cities and SCAT. So they were out, and I know they took some pictures, and they're evaluating some of the bus stops in the city of Cocoa. And we were talking about some of our more busy bus stops, and as far as some shelters, and that's been a discussion. I don't know where they are right now, but I know that it's been an issue, so.
Thank you, Catherine. And Mayor
Thank you so
Williams,
much.
I'd like to introduce, along the lines of public art, our own talent. In fact, the first place winner of the Brevard Public Schools art competition. To show his work, so you can really see the depth of this talent. So, let's see. Uh-oh, here we go again. Yep. Polly Riggs has been working with Art Beats. He is a senior, right, at Cocoa High School? A junior. Okay, so we have another year. But I just wanted to go show you some of his work, just to give you an idea of the level of talent. Now, this is okay. So this is the first place
Oh.
winner.
The mic, yeah.
This is the first place winner of the Brevard Public Schools Art Competition, Polly Riggs. Congratulations. He is also responsible for several pieces of public art in Cocoa. There is one of his benches, another bench,
Good.
and look at this,
Oh,
a
wow.
wrap. I'm sure you've admired that from a distance.
Bring it in my house.
So I'm hoping that we get
Nice,
to
man.
enjoy more of your talents throughout the city. And Nancy Elliott, of course, heads up the Art Beats. And can I get you to take a photo of us?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right,
Maybe Nancy,
Samantha,
you
Oh,
can
Samantha
come
right
up.
there.
Samantha's here, yeah.
Oh,
Samantha right behind you.
Okay, great.
He good. Yeah.
Yes, Alex. Councilman Goins. Councilman Goins, you want to go, let's go take a picture? Mr. City Manager?
So as we have opportunities for mural art and more wraps and maybe wraps around bus shelters, as you had suggested, this is one of our winning artists. Beautiful. Okay, ready?
Nice. Man, we got all kind of talent at Cocoa High School. I tell you, man, these kids are just incredible all the way around, so great job. And we're going to move on to our third items on the award and presentations. We got a proclamation proclaiming the week of May 5th through 11th, Drinking Water Week. Mr. Walsh.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I have a proclamation, whereas water is one of our most valuable natural resource, and whereas water is a basic essential need of every living creature, and whereas tap water is important for public health protection, fire protection, support of our economy, and the quality of life that we all enjoy, and whereas the measure of a successful society, low mortality rates, economic growth and diversity, productivity, and public safety are in some way related to access to safe water, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which future generations depend, and whereas each of us as a citizen and customer of our water utility is called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues by getting to know their water, and whereas the state of Florida, the water management districts, and the city of Cocoa work together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation and other water-related issues, and whereas every day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, dedicated men and women make significant contributions in developing, operating, and maintaining these water systems. Now therefore, I, Mayor Jake Williams Jr., on behalf of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 5th through 11th, 2019 as Drinking Water Week.
Thank you, sir. I was looking at, Ms. Sheila, I was looking at something on here, and I know you said city business. You wanted the item to go on to 8.2,
Oh,
and I think she meant council business, 8.2,
oh, is it? Okay, I didn't know.
instead of city
I wasn't
business.
sure what would be most appropriate because it's a
And I
contract.
was looking at that because we have an item, which is 8.2 on the city business, and I think she meant council business.
I only see, oh, we do have, you're right.
Because it's not a multi-year contract, so
Right.
it would
Yeah.
make that one.
It
item
just slided to
8.2, and
item
then
3?
3 would slide down to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Two
was
would
just wondering
slide
how
to
we
three.
would do that,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and we're going to move on to item number 4, a proclamation proclaiming the week of May 19th to 25th, National Public Works Week. Mr. Weegraff. Sir.
Not to be outdone, there's a proclamation for Public Works Week, which I will read. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Cocoa. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services cannot be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, stormwater infrastructure, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for citizens, civic leaders, and children in Cocoa to gain knowledge of and maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2019 marks the 59th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore, Mayor Jake Williams, on behalf of the City Council of Cocoa, do hereby designate the week of May 19th through 25th 2019 is National Public Works Week, and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And then we have our fifth item here is a proclamation proclaiming May 2019 as National Water Safety Month. May 15th, 2019 as International Water Safety Day. That was brought forward to us by Ms. Harvey, and I'm going to read that real quick. Whereas drowning is the leading cause of accidental death for children between 1 and 4 years of age in the United States. Second for children under the age of 14 and fifth for people of all ages. And whereas Florida has a tragic distinction of leading the nation in child drowning, and the drowning rate in Brevard County is more than twice the drowning rate in the United States. And whereas drowning can and do occur wherever there is water, including backyard swimming pools and spas, portable pools, bathtubs, buckets, as well as in natural environments, including the ocean, rivers, canal, ponds. And whereas, to help prevent these needless tragedies, the American Red Cross urges everyone's children and adults alike to become water competent, which means knowing the layers of protection to prevent drowning, learning swimming and water safety skills, and knowing how to respond to a water emergency, including how to perform CPR. And whereas, working with Brevard County Parks and Recreation Central Division, the Red Cross Aquatics Sentinel campaign is helping equip children and families with these life-saving knowledge and skills in the county, neighborhood strategies and areas within the City of Cocoa and at Jolie Smith Pool. And whereas the City of Cocoa and Historic Cocoa Village Association is helping raise awareness of drowning and educating residents about actions they can take to prevent drowning by supporting International Water Safety Day and the American Red Cross Aquatics Sentinel campaign in our city. And now, therefore, I, Mayor Jake Williams, Jr., on behalf of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as National Water Safety Month, and May 15, 2019 as International Water Safety Day. Ms. Harvey, if you can come up, if y'all want to come now, we'll take a quick picture and give this to her. Sorry, up and down.
Bring your life jacket.
Okay, well, we're gonna move on to item number 4, which is delegations. First up, we have Ms. Donna Kettner.
Good evening, Jake,
Good evening.
Good evening.
council members. My name is Donna Kettner, and I live in Cocoa, and I also have my business in Cocoa Village. And I am here tonight. I have spoken to a few of the council members and city staff about my problem. Same story, it's just a different day. I stood before city council quite a few months ago before the project that took place behind my building was being built. I spoke to Scott at the time, and I vividly remember him telling me, do not worry, everything will be done by code, you're not going to get flooded, it's going to be okay, the property owner has to go by code, it's all going to be approved by engineers. Well, twice now, my business has been flooded out. The city has photos of this. It's not only me being flooded out, but it's also Pub Americana. And I'm not talking a little bit of flooding. I'm talking about, it looks like a waterfall coming through the back of the door. And I'm just fortunate that when I walked into my store, that it was the daytime and it didn't happen in the evening, because I would have had thousands of dollars worth of damage from shoes being stacked in the back room and the flooding just raising higher and higher till it went out the front door. So my store is a pretty big store, so it was about 3 inches throughout my store. Let's see, flooding causes lots of damage to a building. Number one, mold and property damage. The amount of time and energy and hours that I spent trying to evacuate the water out the front of my door in my store took hours. Then I had to call coastal restoration so mold wouldn't set in. So they brought heavy-duty fans to dry up the walls and the flooring so I could move on after this flood. Wages for extra employees to come in and give me a hand. Loss of income because I had to close my store that day due to closing. Frustrations, stress, anxiety, loss of sleep. I can go on and on and on what this does to me. After running my business in this town for almost 37 years, never occurring to have this kind of flooding, I came before the city and told you this was going to happen. You allowed somebody to build higher than my property. John, you were here. Many of you are new to the city council. You can go back and look at records. You can look at the pictures. The city has the pictures of this flooding. I don't know who the engineer was that approved it, but it's a disgrace. I'm not an engineer, and I can tell you what's wrong behind that building. There's a lot of things that weren't up to code. I am before you because you promised me this wasn't going to happen. I can't sleep at night. We're going into the rainy season. This is going to concur every time we have heavy rain. The only thing that I'm going to do is I am going to put sandbags up to the ceiling if I have to in a temporary fix, because it's that bad. And I'm going to meet with you tomorrow, John, at 10 o'clock, and I would like this to be resolved once and for all. It is not fair. It's not fair at all. This is what I'm asking my city leaders to once and for all take care of this problem. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, what is the plan moving forward with this particular issue? Because I think we all know the problem.
Well, I think there's a couple of variables at play. So we're going to meet with Ms. Kettner tomorrow because there could be some issues regarding her building and the ability to handle rain off the roof. There could be the flow from the back alley going from behind Osorio's, then along the wall where there, and then there was, I know there was an issue in that one storm where I think the drain pipe that was, or the draining system was clogged by, was it mulch? Leaves or mulch. So we're going to meet tomorrow, and then we've already been discussing it, and then we'll reach out with Ed, and we'll, you all received a copy of that March 27th report, and that Abigail, our Diaz, our engineer, put together. So.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed this happened again because I know we had some in-depth discussions about this, and it was a mess during the hailstorm, and I was surprised that we're still dealing with this right now. So.
Well, I agree with Mr. Mayor, and I know that and while we are committed to reviewing the records, and I understand that permits were applied for and they were done, and the drainage design that was completed on the subject property was signed and sealed by an engineer. There is, you've got new development versus old development, and in some respects, it might be kind of a civil matter, and so we're going to try to balance it and see what solutions we can come up with, and if we can, but there are some issues maybe between one property versus another.
Well, whose engineer was it? It wasn't our engineer.
No, it was not our engineer.
Okay, so it seems like the engineer has got a lot of liability here.
Okay. Are we going to move on? Next up, we have Mr. Troy Stefan. Thank you, sir.
Council, City Manager, I'm glad I'm here tonight. First of all, usually delegations wasn't prepared for this, but I'm the property owner she's talking about, okay? And the problem is, she doesn't do anything she's supposed to do, period. When I went out and I had pictures of this, her drainage problem, she has a storefront on Harrison. All her roof drains go into a 8-foot easement in the back of her building. And I tried to go in there and talk to her, say, hey, Donna, I'm doing this construction. Right now would be the good time to route your roof drains where they should go. She did unpermitted work, plumbing work.
Yeah,
on her.
this is not the
Yeah,
place.
let's
So I
not
said
get into
there's some issues to ferret out rather than do it here publicly.
I just want to, I mean, delegations is a time for people to do city management.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get into this here as something
Yeah,
that
okay,
it's good
I
to be
agree.
discussed outside of here.
It should
so.
be something, yeah. Well, the reason why I came, but anyway, so please, and if I could be part of those meetings, because I have all the history, the law, everything to show the council that it's not a city issue. It's a person issue that has to
Never
correct their
done it
drainage
before.
off their own roofs. The reason why I came here tonight was from the last meeting that we had about the Riverfront Park, the design. I just wanted to present something. I spoke with the design person, if I can approach. Just some, I spoke with the design person on that Riverfront Park issue. And just to add some things that the council could look at. You want one?
Yeah. If you can give one to Ms. Shealy.
Right behind. Another same contact.
Just because we have to do some hardening and from that last meeting and something nice that just my perspective, and I'm here representing 20 merchants and vendors and possibly 28 of the properties that I have in the village. So they all consensus that the proposal that was put before the board, it kind of lacks two things. It lacks warmness. It lacks historic preservation. We're here since 1860, and I'm trying to promote the historic nature and beautification in the village, but that boardwalk that we had at the last meeting, it just lacks historic. So what I gave you is some pictures of some some historic elements we could add to that waterfront plan, possibly, to tie in our history here in the city of Cocoa. Also, when I spoke with one of the plans was to do the stamped concrete that you saw in the plan. Well, you can actually stamp it where it looks like a boardwalk. Okay, I just wanted to bring that out to your attention. It could be something you could look at as a board. You can stamp it where it looks like a boardwalk and stain it the brown color, so it actually has a warm feeling, and you meet your hardness requirement for FEMA, and it's a nice product. It just might be nicer. So when you're making your decisions on what exactly you want to put out there, please add some warmness and historic preservation. And if you want to see that stamped concrete, they have it at the Cocoa Beach restaurant Long Doggers. They stamped it, and it looks like wood. And it's no maintenance issue, because you already inject the concrete with a brown wooden material, looks like wood. So I just wanted to bring that when you're doing whatever you finally decide out there. Please add a historic element to it and a warmness factor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up we have Ms. Nancy Elliott. Ms. Nancy Elliott, yes.
Only I can hear. Nancy Elliott, 3406 Indian River Drive, and I'm here representing HCVA. We are having a craft show this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, the 11th and 12th, and we are happy to invite everybody down. I know it's Mother's Day weekend, but we celebrate that. A lot of the merchants will be doing Mother's Day specials as come on into our store in addition to coming to the craft show for all the last-minute shoppers. It's a great time to come and find something fabulous. We hope you will enjoy it and join us, and keep your fingers crossed it doesn't rain out.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Miriam Oquenda is up next. And I have my pictures I took the other day too as well.
Was it Saturday?
It was probably about 3 or 4 days ago.
Okay. Well, my name is Miriam Oquendo. We're residents of Regina Meyer. This is Mr.
Robert Wesley.
Hey,
Byron Guard.
okay.
Okay, we're here talking about the flooding in our area. And one of the things that we noticed, we have a supposed to be park area, that nothing is going on in that area. I think what needs to be done, and I'm not a architecture or anybody that does that type of work, but we're trying to come up with ways that we can solve this issue with drainage. My daughter last year lost a car due to the drainage problem, the rain. Saturday, it rained 45 minutes straight. Water is everywhere. I have pictures that I can share. But what I was thinking of what needs to be done is that area, is there any way possible we could have that area dug up and probably go a little deeper and make a retention pond somewhere that we can have water flowing?
Where is this?
This is on Washington Street and D Street.
Yeah.
So what she's talking about is in the corner of Washington and D Street, that ramp is probably 2 or 3 inches, maybe 4 inches lower than the asphalt in that corner. So what's happening, only way it drains off if it's a lot of rain and it pushes it over time, which is hours. But because it's so low, the water just sits maybe 4 or 5 inches.
It was actually going up in the driveway there.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have an area in between all these houses where it was supposed to be a walkway or something. So we're trying to come up with some kind of way, to help some of that drainage. I'm not saying it's going to solve the complete problem, but at least it'll do something instead of going in, almost to her garage or to her front door. I mean, we have some issues in that area. I don't really know what the problem is. I asked Mr. Weger to send me a map, and he did, and he told me about they did some cleaning on some of those pipes. But we have a big problem on Washington Street.
Well,
Washington and
Lucas
other
Lane.
streets. And Lucas as
Lane
well.
as well.
Yeah, and we were talking about the new Jolie Smith Center, and I guess the ponds going in there. I don't know if that's going to help mitigate any of this, but yeah, I just,
I mean, we're just a couple months away from hurricane season.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, and it gets really bad in that area. Right where my mom lives, 349, it floods
Yeah.
really bad. And it gets all the way to her driveway.
Yeah.
And sometime where the drain, where I believe it's the manhole cover, that's where it's at,
Yeah,
it
it
rises
pops
up.
up.
It pops right up.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like supposed to be homogenized steel, where, you know, supposed to be really stronger, anything, but it just, it's
Pops
like,
right up.
just basically lift it yourself, move it. It should be, somehow it should be, I'm thinking it's supposed to be like a homogenized steel, heavier steel, correct?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, supposed to be.
Yes, and it's really light. I mean, her daughter's husband was outside, and we stepped on the thing. It's like rickety. And if there's kids out there, and it's just was a flood, that thing's open, we know where the kid's gonna go.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if they're,
Close by my house to 404 this street.
Yeah.
The water come close by the outside.
Yeah.
Two
Yeah,
sides, back at the front.
Yeah, I took about a dozen pictures over there the other day, so, yeah. And I think, I don't know if I showed the assistant city manager, I might have showed him a couple pictures, but I'm not for sure if I did or not.
I've seen it previously. I've seen it all the way up to the little entryway where the door is, all the way up the driveway.
Yeah.
So it does build up, it queues up until it can get around that corner,
Yeah.
which you mentioned is very slow.
yes, 'cause it's also going to the back, like where my mom is. My mom's backyard is right where his house is, and it's actually raised right up there, it's right at her door.
Yeah.
Is when she opened her door, she's afraid that one day it's gonna, and do because of the rain season, it's gonna go right on in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, you know, like she's saying, that drain will help out. It'll help out
help.
his property
Yeah.
from his side and also help on my mom's side.
Yeah, I think right now, that particular pond is only maybe probably 8 inches, 10 inches deep right
Yes,
now.
it's very,
And it
yes.
has little small pipes, and it's really just a drain going both ways. But if we dig all that up, I think I mean, I'm not, like I said, I don't know if it'll solve the whole problem, but I think it'll help.
Right, but I also know that
That's something.
where the one of the drain is between her daughter's house and my mom's house, that little drain area, it has a little man cover, not a man cover, it's a little aluminum
Yeah, a little
cover.
aluminum
And
round.
it fills completely up.
That was covered Saturday.
And that's on the other street.
That's on Lucas.
That's on Lucas.
Yes.
Yes, it covers up completely. It slowly drains. I think it was last year, a guy was driving through with his car, it stalled out. He had to get a wrecker to come out and pick him up
Yeah.
and take him out. So it is a bad area for floods. I don't know, is there any other way that could be done with that?
Yeah.
I know they
Yeah,
can,
look.
I know they have came in and they're cleaning the drains out, but it's about coming to rain season again. I know hurricane season is just only a month away.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
So now
we appreciate you all coming, and we kind of understand what's going, we know what the problem is, but we need to figure out
Yeah.
a solution here. So we're going to meet with staff and try to figure out what we can do, because we got a few issues that need to be dealt with, so.
We also have a stormwater workshop. That's a long-term plan. Is this one of the areas being looked at?
Yeah.
That's going to be next week, right? Next Tuesday?
Yes, this is one of our priority areas.
Okay.
And when is that?
So that will
Is that
be
begin-
next week at 6
Next
o'clock
Tuesday at
on
6, huh?
Tuesday in the
Tuesday,
chambers?
6 Here.
Here.
Yeah, it's 6 here.
Next Tuesday.
Yep.
We'll be here.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
coming out, yes. Okay, that, if there's no more cards, that's it for delegation. We're going to move on to our consent agenda. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cost, a second from Councilman Goins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously.
Mayor Williams, can I just ask, for consent agenda, I was going to ask John if we could, instead of using acronyms, if we could spell things out so it's a little bit easier to digest for those that are just coming to the meetings. Like, for example, RTUs are actually, I wasn't familiar with it, I had to go in and look. It's remote terminal units. And I know when I first started coming to meetings, I didn't get online and study the agenda. So just so everyone can follow along and understand what we're doing. LCPs as local control panels, and just in the future for consent agendas, if we spell it out, at least for consent agendas, probably for
Well-
other agenda items too.
We'll work on eliminating the acronyms or in the title and just in all of our agenda items. We'll
Okay,
work on that.
great.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And we're going to move on to our public hearing. Item number 1, approve the first reading of, did you read this into, or?
I will read it in. Ordinance number 03-2019, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, revoking the economic development ad valorem tax exemption given to Cross Brands Manufacturing LLC, originally authorized by Ordinance 11-2016, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances, resolution, severability, and an effective date. This is first reading of this ordinance.
Thank you, sir. We're going to go ahead and close this to the council and open it up to the public, because this is a public hearing, so we have anyone in the public that want to speak on this item? If not, we're going to open it back up to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second?
We got a motion from Councilman Goin, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we got item number 2.
Yep, ordinance number 05-2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, revoking the economic development ad valorem tax exemption given to Diamondback CNC LLC, originally authorized by ordinance 08-2012, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, severability, and effective date. This is first reading. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we're going to go ahead and close it to the council and open it up to the public. If anyone would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we're going to close it to the public and reopen it back to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cost, a second from Councilman Goin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously.
Next ordinance
Yes,
is 06-2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, revoking the economic development ad valorem tax exemption given to Gino LLC, originally authorized by ordinance 12-2015, reimposing the ad valorem tax is exempted for 2016 pursuant to ordinance 12-2015 to the extent allowed by law, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, severability, and an effective date. This is first reading of this ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Once again, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to close it at this time to the council, and open it up to the public. If there's anyone who'd like to speak on this item, you can do so at this time. Seeing none, we're going to close this to the public and reopen it to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second?
We got a motion from Councilman Goin, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously.
The next ordinance is 07-2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, revoking the economic development ad valorem tax exemption given to Paragon Plastics, Inc., originally authorized by ordinance 17-2011, reimposing the ad valorem tax is exempted for 2016 pursuant to ordinance 17-2011 to the extent allowed by law, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, severability, and an effective date. This is first reading of this ordinance. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we're going to close it to the council and open it to the public. For anyone that'd like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we're going to close it to the public, reopen it back to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second?
We get a motion from Councilman Goin, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously.
Last public hearing item is ordinance number 04-2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, amending Appendix A, Article 11, Section 19 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Cocoa to allow indoor shooting ranges as permitted use subject to certain conditions, including ancillary retail sales and restaurant, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, incorporation into the code, severability, and effective date. This is second and final reading of this ordinance, and there have been no changes since first reading. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, sir. At this time, we're going to close it to the council and open it to the public. Is there anyone that'd like to speak on this item? If not, we'll close this to the public at this time and reopen it to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We got a motion from Councilman Goin, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously.
I have a question for staff in regard to, we had 4 of these, it looks like incentives that we had offered businesses. Is there any common thread between all of these that,
Well, a couple of them moved out of
so they just moved
city,
out?
yeah, and then some of them just didn't fulfill their obligation as far as employees and their
Capital
reports.
investment,
Yeah, there were, when the council, the citizens of Cocoa approved the referendum that authorizes city council to grant ad valorem tax exemptions for economic development purposes. And when the council does exercise that power, there are certain benchmarks that are established for the business, such as jobs.
Capital investment.
Capital investments. And we go into those agreements with those benchmarks out there, and then they have annual reporting responsibilities, and sometimes the businesses don't meet the benchmarks that would entitle them to get the ad valorem tax exemption. So it gets reevaluated, and the city council then has the authority to revoke that ad valorem tax exemption. And in some cases, the revocation is not simply a revocation, but a revocation plus reimposing an ad valorem tax abatement that they may have received in prior years. So that notice goes to the tax collector and makes its way through that process.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Much better than what I did. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 7.1, which is council business. And it's approve a resolution, resolution 2019-037, providing for temporary waiver for building permit fees related to installation of solar voltaics and thermal systems for a period of 1 year, expressing the city's support for the Florida Solar United Neighbors, FLSUN. What's wishes of the council?
Motion to approve?
And of course, I'll second that.
We got a motion from Councilman Goins, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously.
Because I missed my chance for discussion, but I'd like to say one thing on that resolution. Because I had submitted a draft, and I think it came back, and in fact, Nancy had called me because we added the thermal systems, which is fine that we added those, the thermal systems, basically for pools, hot water heating. I'm not opposed to that, but just want to make it clear to the public that the efficiency of solar voltaic panels is now to the point where it's a better use of real estate to actually put the photovoltaics on rather than thermal systems. And it's been that efficient for a couple of years, so.
Thank you, ma'am. Educate us. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8, which is city business. First item is approved to accept the funds awarded for Florida Inland Navigation District fine grants. Approve the budget resolution to amend the fiscal year 2019 in the amount of $652,100. Community Service Director.
So in April of 2017, the city applied for a fine grant for the T-Dock and the day slips at Lee Winter Park. The grant was awarded in September of 2017, but the budget was not amended at the time that the grant was awarded. And so we're coming to you now to amend the budget for this fiscal year to accept the funds for the grant revenue. The grant was awarded in the amount of $450,000. The city is responsible for $225,000 of that $450,000. In September of 2017, Hurricane Irma also devastated the waterfront, and the city applied for a disaster relief fine grant and was awarded that in February of 2018. And that was to purchase materials, receive engineered plans, engineering services, and construct the boardwalk, esplanade, boat slips, T-Dock, and gazebos in Lee Winter and Riverfront Park. And the the grant was awarded in the amount of $1,708,400, and the city is responsible for $1,281,300, and the FIND grant will contribute up to 25% or $427,100 towards the reconstruction of the prior facilities. And so staff is just requesting you to accept these funds into the budget so we can amend the budget and begin work on these projects.
Thank you, ma'am. What is the wishes of the council?
I have one question for
Yes,
staff. So roughly $500,000 is provided by the grants, and then, so there's $1.2 million. Is that already budgeted? And does that come out of the capital fund to complete this project?
It is, sorry. Yes, it is budgeted, came out of general fund reserves. We obviously, some of that will also, besides the funding, there's FEMA funding, which has a little bit shorter time frame. And then we don't know if the state will participate, but then the cities will be responsible for the balance. And it was budgeted out of...
It's already budgeted.
Yes, it was budgeted out of the unassigned fund balance or reserves.
Okay. Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cost.
Second.
Second from Councilman Goin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. And then we got item number 8.2, which is approved resolution waiving the competitive bidding process for the purpose of making a sole source purchase of 4 submersible mixers from the Stellar's reclamation facility. Utilities Director, Mr. Walsh, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as you said, this item is to purchase 4 submersible mixers from Avivo, and we're asking council to waive the competitive bid process. So just to add, I guess, some additional information, for those of you who were on council 3 or 4 years ago, we did a significant upgrade to the Sellers plant called the B&R project, biological nutrient removal process. We actually resized and moved interior concrete walls to make them, to size them properly for current flows and more closely to how the plant operates. And in that project, we actually had replaced all of the mixers throughout that section, which is what this is for. But just to clarify, maybe the agenda wasn't written maybe 100% how it should have been, but these are not replacement pumps because they're broken. These are shelf pumps because we don't have any replacements. In order to get one of those pumps, 14 to 16-week lead time. So if one fails, puts us in a spot. And of course, with all of the things going on, we want to be able to treat effluent at the plant under all conditions, especially during the wet weather in the summers and of course through the hurricane season. We do have 2 trains, but obviously we want to try to optimize that and keep both trains running at the same time for different reasons. And even if we had to do a rebuild or just general maintenance, we don't have a way to take one out of service and do like we would do in terms of the multiple backups, if you will, how we do it at other plants and through other systems in the plant. Try to have 1, 2, and 3 different ways to be able to accomplish the same goal.
And I was looking at this, it said they're the only vendor that I guess sell this particular mixer.
Yes, sir, and just let me clarify, there are other folks who can make mixers.
Okay.
But this particular design was completed by Ovivo when we did the B&R, and these particular mixers were designed with the specific geometry of and depth, height, width of each of our basins so that we can optimize the mixer itself. And also, just as an aside, because I know Councilwoman Koss saw some of this information in my sustainability, but if you look at our usage in our electrical since we did this project in 13-14, when these all approximately got running, we've actually had a 5 cent or so drop in our electrical usage, consistent with some of the efficiency stuff that we've been doing.
Thank you, sir.
And also, another thing is they are installed on rails so you can access them, which means it's basically typically a stainless steel pole where the mixer goes down and slides down to the bottom 15, 20 feet. Sometimes other mixers don't necessarily use the same type of pole or same diameter, so that can be a problem if you're familiar with stations. And then the other thing is the angle of the mixer has been actually optimized, and there are 2 angles within the basin, each basin, whereby we're trying to maximize to get full mixing so we don't have things build up in the corners of these basins. And so that has been all taken into account when we did the design. Ovivo did that analysis for us in conjunction with our consultant at that time, which was CDM Smith. And for those reasons is why we are sole sourcing with Ovivo.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And what is the lifespan?
They're typically about 10 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cos.
Second.
Second from Councilman Goen. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we can move on to item number 3 with the multi-year contract awards bid number B-19-13-COC, Lee Winter Park T-Dock and day slips to the low bidder CD Construction Incorporated, alternate 1. Public Works Director.
Yes, Mayor and Council, staff is requesting for council to award the bids. The city recently bid the replacement T-Dock and day slips. This project replaces the facilities that were wiped out in Hurricane Irma. They also increase the T-Dock and the day slips. So we're requesting approval to award the bid to C&D Construction in the amount of $1,734,800. Approve it as a multi-year, multi-phase contract from 2019 to FY 2020, and request authorization for the city manager to execute the contract. We're also requesting to approve a resolution amending the FY 2019 budget to accept a transfer from Fund 302 from the Sococo CRA for the enhancements to the project. Part of this is spending the money that you just approved from the Florida Inland Navigation District funding. We will be quickly spending it to replace the old wooden docks that we had with state-of-the-art floating concrete docks, which are more storm-resistant, more resilient. Actually get money from FEMA to upgrade these. So if there's questions, I'd be happy to answer it.
Not a question, but a statement. I'm just glad to see that they are a cocoa company. I don't
Yeah,
see too many
C&D
of those, so I'm
Construction,
really glad to see
Yes,
that.
they've built several other facilities for the city, so we're familiar with them and work well with them.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to approve.
We get a motion from Councilwoman Cos.
Second.
Second from Councilman Goen. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
We'll
sir.
get to work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I guess I was trying to get you guys out of here as soon as possible. I know it's been a busy time for a lot of us, and so now it's all up to the reports.
Does that mean you don't want me to talk about?
So, Mr. Weigreff.
No report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Howell?
No report.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief?
No report, sir.
Chief?
No report.
Oh, thank you, sir.
We have a resiliency open house on May 21st at 6 p.m. here in council chambers, and the open house is related to our resiliency grants that we received this fiscal year from the DEP and DEO in regards to making the city more resilient for storms. So it's perfect timing with hurricane season coming in June that we are having this open house to share some of our ideas that we've received through this grant.
Thank you, ma'am. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Walsh?
No report tonight, sir.
Thank you, sir.
No report.
All right, City Clerk?
No report.
Wow. Mr. City Attorney?
No report.
Wow, everybody wants to go home. Assistant City Manager?
No report.
No.
Unless there's a proclamation by the city attorney anymore.
Okay.
Pressure on you.
Mr. City Manager?
Just a couple items, Mr. Mayor, I'll make it quick.
Okay. No, it's fine.
You know, I got a late invite, but you know, it did make it on the agenda, but I know we, Public Works and the Water Department and our water American Water Works, they had proclamations about it being Public Works and, I guess, Water Works Week. Actually, it's also Municipal Clerks Week. It's actually one of the oldest, public servants that goes back to biblical days in terms of the clerk. And so they provide that critical link between our citizens, council, staff, and working with the community and keeping everything running. So we certainly want to acknowledge the efforts of the clerk's office. And last night, I happened to have the opportunity to attend the University of Central Florida's Public Service Recognition Week, and started 35 years ago to recognize and honor the dedication and commitment of all public servants who serve either at the national, state, or local government level. So I just want to acknowledge them as well. It seems like everybody picks the same week, and then Matt was just telling me it also happens to be Teacher Appreciation Week.
Yep.
Everybody's appreciated.
So you didn't bring Carrie flowers or nothing?
Is that it?
So, two things, sir.
You want to answer that question?
Okay.
So, the Florida League of Cities is having their 93rd annual conference, Thursday, August 15th to Saturday, August 17th in Orlando. And we just, Carrie and I need to know which members of council are interested in attending. There are 4 members that were budgeted to attend. Carrie's already, spoken with Councilman Bovair, and he will not be attending. So we just need to know which members would like to attend so she can sign you up for those.
Well, I would like to attend. I already told you.
Yes.
All three, yeah.
All 3?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Warner?
Are you there?
No report.
No, are
No,
you-
do you want to attend the Florida League of Cities conference in Orlando?
In August.
Okay. I'm going to need you to repeat that because I can't hear anything John says. I can hear everybody but John.
Are you interested in attending the Florida League of Cities annual conference in August? It's in Orlando, the 15th through 17th
August.
of August.
Yes, ma'am, but I will not be staying over. I'll be driving back and forth.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then the last thing, at 5, just a little after 5 o'clock this evening, I did receive an email from Representative Altman's aide, and as you know, session's over. Governor has a number of different bills. One of in the appropriations, General Appropriations Act, there is some funds for Florida Tech Restore Lagoon inflow research project, and it's a pilot project to investigate the impacts of restoring periodic historical ocean inflows to the Indian River Lagoon, and they are requesting that we sign a letter and send it on to the governor to support the project and not, veto it. So with the consensus of council, I'll draft the letter.
And that is a research project.
It is.
To research.
And it's about $932,000.
Yeah, we definitely support that. Of course, the half-cent sales tax, the Broward County half-cent sales tax does not support any research, so those monies do need to come from other places. And I'm glad to hear that they've taken that initiative.
So do I have consensus among council?
Yes, sir. For me, that's well.
1, 2, and her, just okay.
Yes.
All right. And that's all I have.
And the Deputy Mayor, did she hear that, or?
Deputy Mayor,
Sounds like.
Yes.
did you hear that? The city manager is asking for a consensus about a letter.
A letter of support to Governor DeSantis regarding a appropriations request that was submitted for the Florida Tech Restore Lagoon Inflow Research Project by Representative Altman.
Looking for consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm good.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Warner,
Yes, sir.
reports?
Do you have a report?
No report from me unless you want to know what the weather is like in Georgia.
No. Well, just be safe, and we'll see you when you get back.
Thank you.
Councilman Goins.
I just had two things. I sent the council an email regarding our potential tour of Hannibal Square for June 29th. Hopefully, everyone is available that day. I think that'd be something that'd be good for us to see. Also, we have we had 2 dates set for the basketball tournament at Fern Prospect, but we moved it because of graduations. So it's going to be May 25th at Fern Prospect Park. We really didn't have a name for it, but it's basically just, having the community take our park back. I talked to Officer Hadaway already. He has officers for that. And also, I may need Mr. Wheatgriff for lighting that night. I'll get with you on that. So May 25th. I think we had two light pods, I think.
All right, we'll get with Brevard County Parks and get that.
Thank you. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. And, okay. Councilwoman Cox.
And I just have one item, I'll be brief. But at the last meeting, I think it may have been the CRA meeting, but Alec Greenwood brought up the issue of the trees. And I want you to know that that did not fall on deaf ears. And I did listen to part of the planning and zoning meeting last week, as well as I've witnessed in my own neighborhood a dozen trees going down over the last year, maybe 2. But big oak, mature, 100-year-old trees. So I did, of course, I submitted budget proposals that included becoming a Tree City USA again. And, the basic requirements for that we probably already meet for the most part. But the beauty of that program is that it's an opportunity to educate folks because, like, for example, in my neighborhood, some of the people that tore down their trees, they're from another part of the country where they don't have a lot of trees, they don't have a tree appreciation, they don't realize the ecological benefits as well as economic benefits that trees provide to all of us in regard to stormwater protection. And I would have to say that overall, not just environmentalists, but stormwater managers have become more aware of what that canopy can do for you, particularly when you look at 500-year storms like what took place in Houston, where they had 3 parking spots, covered over parking spots for every car, so that there weren't those permeable surfaces that could absorb the rain, as well as, of course, the trees. What is it, 4,000 gallons a year? So it's significant, and we'll be looking at that going forward.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Council, Mr. Baker, I could just comment on that, because the legislature, one of the bills that they passed, I'm not sure if it was House Bill 1159, which prohibits local governments from requiring notices, applications, approvals, permits, fees, or mitigations for pruning, trimming, or removal of trees on residential property. And there's some conditions related to that. Obviously, we're waiting to see what the governor does in terms of if he signs that ordinance or signs that bill, and we'll have to work with the city attorney's office to see what we need to do to make sure our ordinance is in compliance and consistent with, because there were other bills that were presented to where if a city's ordinances were not consistent with the state, so they basically preempted it. It's something we fought, we sent information, emails to, but it fell on deaf ears, but it did make it through both the House and Senate, and we're waiting to see if the governor's going to sign it.
So the only way we'll be able to protect ourselves is to educate people.
Yep. That's correct.
Develop that culture.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. Is that it?
Yes, thank you.
Ma'am. Thank you. I'm going to be short and sweet until we can get out of here. I just, you all know we had our National Day of Prayer here on May the 2nd, and I want to thank our Chief of Police, Chief Cantaloupe, and our Deputy Chief, Mr. Lamb, with our fire department, as well as many others that was involved. It was a busy day. Some of us was bouncing around at different locations, and it was great. So if you want a part of the National Day of Prayer, then is it yours? Okay. So, and in other words, it was a great event. And then also I had the pleasure of, or is it? Okay, I had the pleasure of going out to the port there and touring the Harmony of the Seas, which is, it was absolutely incredible. The ship was absolutely incredible. It was like a city on water. And I also got a chance to tour the Mariner. But it's just amazing that you can get almost 10,000 people on one ship. That's crazy to me. And so with that being said, I want to remind everybody that May the 11th is Captain Ed Lanny's Day. And Captain Ed, I mean, to know him is to love him, and that's just the way it is. And I'm actually I'm looking at something that we can do for Captain Ed. I've actually looked at a couple of streets that don't have any kind of budgetary impacts, and I think there's several community leaders that we've had or individuals that have, and some since have gone on, that need to be recognized in our community. I know there's a few that we've recognized already, and when I talk about that, I know I've talked to the staff. I was looking at Mr. Al Trafford and also Travis from Travis Hardware. These are some people that have had a major impact in our community. And I know we got little plaques that we have on the little rotunda areas out here, but I'd like to, if there's some streets down here that don't have any major budgetary impacts or any budgetary impacts, that we can look at possibly naming some of these streets after these individuals that have been crucial and have been vital to our community here. So with that being said,
If I may, Mayor, I'm going to be the guest speaker in the morning.
yes, Captain Ed will be the guest speaker of our Memorial Day event as well. So
The Cocoa Tigers Chorus is also going to perform.
yes, ma'am. Well, that being said, if I can get a motion to adjourn and
Motion to adjourn.
we get a motion from Councilwoman Cost, a second from Councilman Goin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Warner, be careful.
Get out of here quicker.